Hi, I'm Lisa from sewnlife.com, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make Bluebell Rabbit. So she's a very special kind of rabbit. She's got movable arms and movable legs, and all of the buttons which allow these to move are hidden inside, so she looks very professional. The pattern is available from my website, which is sewnlife.com, and kits are also available as well. Now you can see on the table here that I've got some other characters as well, because Bluebell is part of a set of characters. So there are Theodore Bear and Friends. So this is Theodore Bear, this is James Fox, Florence Piglet and Beatrice Fawn. Now they've all got their own little outfits which can be interchangeable, so they can all wear all of the outfits, and they've all got their own little characters and stories written about them by my daughter Grace. So I hope that you will adore them as much as I do, and you will make Bluebell and then perhaps start adding clothes and some other friends to her. But first of all, let's make Bluebell and let's get going with her. So these are the things that you're going to need to make Bluebell Rabbit. The felt I'm using here is a wool blend, so that means it's about 40% wool and 60% viscose. So I wouldn't particularly use 100% acrylic wool. It is 100% acrylic felt. It is cheaper, but it's not as nice a quality. So this has got a nicer handle, and when you have it in this marl effect, it just gives it a really nice look. So you've got here, there's a metre here of grey felt, and it's 20 centimetres deep, and then the white felt is 20 centimetres deep as well, and there's 17 centimetres of that. And then you'll need some black embroidery thread, 4 buttons that are 20 centimetres diameter, so that's all the way across, and then these are 15 centimetres diameter, so there's 4 of those, and then 2 little buttons for the eyes. I've got black, but you can have brown or any colour you want, and that's all that you'll need. Oh, and some stuffing. Okay, so first things first, when you get the pattern, you'll have 3 pages of pattern pieces, and all that you need to do is cut these pattern pieces out. Cut them out on the outside of the black line as accurately as you can. So if you've bought these as a PDF pattern and printed it off yourself, all you need to check when you've printed it off is that there's square here. So there's a test square and it says this should be 3 centimetres when printed. So just print one of the pages off and just measure that and check that it's 3 centimetres. And if it is, you're good to go. That's the correct measurements. When you've cut these pieces out, what you can do when you cut your felt out is you can either draw around them, or you can pin them and then cut them out. Now I do prefer to pin. Now the really nice thing about working with felt is that it doesn't have a wrong side or a right side. They're both the same, so that makes things a lot easier for you. It doesn't fray as well, so that makes things really easy for you. I've got 3 pieces here. I've got the paw pad, the ear, inside ear, and the foot pad. This felt is doubled over, see, and then I'm just going to cut those out. So another really nice thing about working with felt is that it doesn't have a wrong or a right direction, so you can move pieces around on your fabric and it can sit in any direction and it will be okay. If you were using something like this, like a cotton fabric that is what's called woven, it has to be cut in a certain way, otherwise it sort of hangs skew-whiff. But that's not the case with felt, so that's really nice. So what I've got here is I'm following, I've got all my pattern pieces on here and I'm following the layout that I've got in the pattern. If you're using your own piece of felt and it's a different shape, that's absolutely fine. Just work out where all your pieces need to sit before you cut. Put them on the top, and then once you've got it all sorted, only cut it out then. Just be aware that this piece, which is the head gusset, only gets cut out of a single piece. All of this then is on a double fold piece, so it cuts out twice. And here, this ear is the same piece that was cut out of white, so you're using the same piece again. So here are all the pieces, and now we're going to be ready to start putting them together. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is make the arms. Now you've got the paw pad here, and then this is the inner arm. So you can see there's some markings on here. So what I want to do is put the markings onto the felt. So if I take this pin out, I'm just going to use a pencil and I'm just going to mark a mark there This is actually for the opening. This shows me where to stop sewing for the opening and a mark there. And then I'm going to turn it over and do the same on the other side. I'm only doing a very small mark so that it doesn't go into where it's going to be seen. And then that there is where the button is going to be attached. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that pin and I'm going to push it through there and then lift that back and just make a very small point there and there. What you're going to do is attach the paw to the arm. So line those two sides up, there and there. You can pin it if you want to, and you're just going to sew along there and along there. So now right sides together, put the arms one on top of the other, and you're going to sew all around the edge, leaving that bit open, which is the opening. So now that's sewn, all that needs to be done is turned inside out. You've got a pair of arms there, and it's a good idea just to take something. I've just got this corner turner here, and just very gently ease out the edges. I'm going to move on to the body now, and first of all I'll take the pins out, and then what I'm going to do is transfer these markings. So this is the back opening, so this is the bit that's not going to be sewn. So I'll just do a mark there and a mark on the other side, and then the same as I did with the arms. So I'll take a pin here, put it through this armhole, and then I'll do the same with the leg position. I've now got a thread here, and I've got quite a long thread, and I've got it double, and the reason I'm doing it double is because this needs to be very strong. Okay, because this is where we're going to attach the arms to the body. So I'll do it with one body. This is the wrong side of the body, and you can see here I've got the mark, which is where the button is going to go. So what I'm going to do is just do a couple of stitches. I'm going to attach this button onto here. So this is just a little bit under 20 millimeters. So from side to side diameter, it's just under 20 millimeters, probably about 19. So I'm going to secure this button onto the felt. I'm going to go through about 5 times. Right, so that's secure now, and I'm going to take the thread through to the other side. So this is the wrong side of the body, and this will be inside the body. So I'm going to flip that over. And what I'm going to do is I've now got this on the right side. I just want to double check that I've got it facing the right way. Here is my back opening. So I want this arm to face forward that way. So the arm is going to face forward like that. So if you imagine, that's the tummy and the arm faces forward. Now, what these do is these allow this arm to move, to rotate. Okay. So what you need to do is find the hole there, that mark, not the hole, sorry, the mark. Okay, so there's the pencil mark. So go through there. So you're laying your arm there. Make sure that you've got the white paw facing inwards, not outwards. So you've come through that hole. Sorry, I keep saying hole. You've come through that mark, and then you're going to go through the button. Okay, and all of these 3 layers, so the button, well, 4 layers, the button, the arm, the body, and the button the other side are all going to line up. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to go back through there, so I know it's to the button, and I'm going to go all the way through. So if you can see, what I've got there is my 4 bits in a row. Okay, so I'm now going to go through all of these layers, pulling it tight about 5 or 6 times. So I think that's pretty secure. Okay, cut that off. And then I'll do exactly the same to the other arm. So 2 front bodies, both with an arm attached. There we go. So we're going to do the same process with these two legs as we did with the arms. So just going to do a mark there, the other side, there, and the other side. Okay, that's the outer leg. Same for this. This is the inner leg. And mark the point for where they're going to attach to the leg. So mark that there, point there, go through, and a point there. Okay, so this is the inside leg, which is why it's got the point here, because this is where the button's going to attach, and these are the outside legs. What we're going to do is these are going to be sewn from here down here, and then from here all the way around here. So this is not going to be sewn, and there will be an opening left there. So we're going to do that with one outside and one inside leg. Same here, one outside and one inside leg. Both of the legs have been sewn. They've both got the back opening there, and then this is open here at the bottom. So what we want now is this foot is going to go inside there. So that needs to fit in there, and that needs to fit in there. So this bit is slightly trickier. So first of all, they needs to be pinned. Okay, so use these sort of like little pins, and there's a marking there on the two ends to show you where the ends needs to sit in to that seam. So I'm just going to go all the way round and pin it, and I'm going to sort of like mould it into the shape. What I found is that if you go round and tack it, so what that means is do a stitch in a different colour fabric, just a simple running stitch, in a different colour thread, sorry, not fabric, and then that will be removed once the stitching's done. So I'm going to go ahead and put some tacking stitch around here. So you can see that these have both been tacked, and I'm going to take them over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew all the way around. Now it is a little bit tricky sewing these, so I suggest that you sew it very, very slowly. I'm going to start in the middle, and then when I get to the end here, I'm going to stop when I get right into the middle there, and this bit I'm going to move over to the other side and then carry on, and I'm going to do the same at that end. So it's just so that you get a nice round shape. That's what I did with this one, if you can see there. Okay, so I'm at the very end of the foot. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lift this up, and I'm going to push all of this over to the other side. Okay. Put that down. You've got a lot of fabric under here, so you might need to give it a little push. This is so tricky. What I'd say is, once you've done that side, and once you've finished it, just turn it over and just double check that you've not gone too close to the edge. So can you see there, that is a little bit too close to the edge. So what I think I'm going to do is just do another line of stitching just slightly further in, so that it's not too close. And then I'm going to take out this blue stitching. Now that the feet are done, these are ready to turn inside out, but what you need to do is you need to cut in here, because this is a very tight turn. So just get your scissors and cut into there. Don't cut too near the stitching. You don't want to do that. What this does is releases the fabric so that when you turn it inside out, it sits flat. And turn this inside out. So sort of start with this foot, pull that out so it's sort of as fat as it can be, and then push the end of the foot in there. Okay, it's not quite ready yet. There's a certain point at which you can see it coming out the other side, and you can pull it out. There we go. Just running my finger around it whilst pulling it out to give it a little bit of shape. Okay, you can see that sits flat now because of those cuts. Round it out, and then I've just got something here. I'm just going to put this in and just poke out the last bits. Now we're going to attach the legs, now that they're sewn, onto the body in exactly the same way as the arm. So there's going to be a button inside there, and there's going to be a button on the back there, and we'll sew that in exactly the same process, and the same on that side. Both sides of the body have now got the arm and the leg, so we're going to put the two bodies together. But in order to do that, we've got to take this arm and leg out of the way, arm and leg out of the way, and then put them one on top of each other, right sides together, and we're going to sew all around there, but leaving that top bit unsewn, because that's where we're going to turn it through. Okay, so let's take it to the sewing machine. Turn it inside out. There we go. Bluebell bunny coming to life. Aww. So to stuff a bluebell bunny, what I'm going to use is this stuffing, which is 100% polyester, so it can be called like toy stuffing or polyester stuffing. But what I also do is I put all my scraps in there as well, so anything that's small, like I've got thread, this is a bit of wool when I was making pom-poms. If there's any little bits of felt, I cut them up quite small. You can see I've got a little bit there, and put them in as well. So I try and use as many of my scraps in the stuffing as possible. So what I'm going to do first is stuff the arms and the legs, so all four of them. Now, because they're quite slim, probably need something to help push it down. So I've got this implement here. Just push it down to the end. You can use anything. You can use a needle, like a knitting needle, or pencil. So the arms and legs are now both stuffed. And what needs to happen now is they need to be sewn up, and the best way to do it is to do ladder stitch. So I'll do this first one. Now really we want it to be invisible. Can you see I've not put all of the stuffing in there at the moment? I've just left a bit of a hole for it. So what I'm going to do is, the stitch starts there, but I'm going to do my first stitch a little bit underneath. So I'm just using a single thread. Okay, so my first stitch, I'm going to go over about 3 times to secure it. And the way that I'm going to do the ladder stitch, so a ladder stitch literally means it looks like a ladder. So I'm going to follow the line of this, and I'm going to stitch at that line there and in that line there, so that those two bits turn underneath. So I'm going to go in there and up, so I'm going across and up, and then I'm going to go across to the same point and up there. Okay, and then I'm going to go across to the same point and up, and again across to the same point and up. You can see I'm only leaving a little bit, probably about 3 millimeters. Okay, and then when I pull that, it will gently all sit underneath and you won't see the stitch. I've only got a little hole there, so what I'm going to do now is put my last bit of stuffing in. Oh! It's alive. I'm doing exactly the same, go across and up. The first leg is stitched up, and now I'm going to do exactly the same to the other leg and the other 2 arms. The body's stuffed now, so arms are stuffed, legs sewn up, and this is stuffed with scraps at the top and then the stuffing underneath. So we're going to use the same stitch again, ladder stitch, to stitch up here. What I'm going to do now is put some more stuffing in there so it's filled right to the top, because this needs to be really sturdy for when the head goes on, because if this is not full and really sturdy, the head will just sort of like wobble about, and you don't want that. So the body's done now. Bluebell's body is done, arms and legs all stuffed, body stuffed. Now we're going to go on to the head. Now we've got the ears to sew, so we have a white and a grey of both, and we're going to sew all the way around those two sides. The ears are both sewn now. Just cut off the top little bits so it's easier to turn under, and then turn them both underneath. Now that they're turned inside out, to give them some structure when they actually go on the head, they're going to be folded in half there, and you're just going to sew down that line there. So I'm going to give it a clip. So the ears are done now, and they're ready to go onto the face. So there is markings here that I've put on for the position of the ear. So put the ear in between those markings, point it towards the corner here, well, the neck, and then pin that in place, and then that's going to be sewn on the sewing machine. Just, you will see that I've made this sit higher than the edge of the face, and that's so that you don't want this seam to be seen there, the sewing. So when you take it to the sewing machine, just be careful, there are lots of layers in here, so you'll probably need to go quite slowly to get your sewing machine to go over it, and then do the same to that one as well. So we're going to put the two head pieces together, and there's a point here which has been marked. So right sides go together, and then from that point there to the neck is going to be sewn. So now that the neck is sewn in, what we're going to do is we're going to attach the gusset. So there's a little mark on the end here which goes at this end. So I find the easiest way to fit this in is, first of all, to position this end. So put that on there, or pin that there, and then go to right to the other end and put that in place there, both sides. Trying to use these smaller pins because it's a smaller item. Okay, and then get these ears out of the way, they need to go inside. And then what you're going to do is fit the rest of this in. Now there's a little bit of fullness, so hopefully it will fit first time. Yeah, can you see? Sort of mould it and can see that it's going to fit. Coming up to the nose here, so I'll show you how to do this. So when you get to the end, get right to the end there, so I can feel that I'm at the point where I can lift this. So lift my needle, and then all of this, the face needs to go over, ow, to the other side. Okay, make sure that this all sat flat, put it back down, and then you can carry on round. Now what we need to do is turn it inside out. So it's quite handy that you have these ears, because this helps it pull through, starting to take shape. Now it always looks a bit odd at this stage, and it looks a bit pointy, but once everything is added in, you know, the eyes are on and the head's stuffed, it will look rounder. And stuff our head, what you want to do is make sure that this nose is stuffed really, really firmly, and the reason for that is that what you're going to do next is put the facial features on, and one of them is that we're going to embroider a nose on here, so it just needs to be really, really firm. The head's stuffed, it's coming together. You'll see the ears do sort of like splay out to the side a little bit more, but what we're going to do now is this bit underneath it, so this head is going to obviously sit on this body, and what you want is a nice sort of ending here to this fabric. So the body is actually going to go underneath here, So what we want to do is, because this is going to be the top layer, we're going to turn this underneath just by sort of 2 or 3 millimeters and tack it down all the way around. Okay, in fact I'll pin it first. There we go. So now I'll tack all the way around. Right, so we're ready now to put the body onto the head. So the first thing you need to do is you need to just check that this has got the maximum amount of stuffing in there, because this bit needs to be really solid and it needs to be right up to the top to give it stability. And then this is going inside this head. So this head is going on top and inside there. Now, the first thing that you have to do is match up this seam and this seam. Okay, so put that on there, hold that close. Oh, and then I'm going to pin that in place. And then what I'm going to do is go to the back, and I want that seam to go in between these two seams. So again, I'm going to pin that in place. One side, there we go. I've got a piece of needle and thread here, and it's quite long because I know that I'm going to go around twice, so it needs quite a bit of thread. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here because, like I said, I want this bit to match up. So I'm going to start on this bit to make sure that I get it lining up. So I'm going to have my first stitch in the middle here. So Bluebell's head is on now, all the way around, fastened. So just need to take out this blue thread, this tacking thread. We're going to put the eyes, and you can see that we've already got the marking from before. So there and there is where the eyes are going to go. I'm going to use double thread just so that it's more secure. And I'm going to come in. I'll leave that there, and I'm going to cut that off in a bit. I'm going to do a couple of stitches just to secure this thread. Now I'm using buttons which are like 1 centimetre. I've chosen black, but you can use anything you want. If you're going to use this for like a very young child, then you could use something else instead of buttons, just so that they don't get hold of the buttons. I mean, you can embroider them on as well. Right, so when the first eye is sewn on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this same thread just because it makes it easier, and I'm going to push my head really tight, and can you see that my needle is coming through the other side? So I'm going to push that through, and then I'm using this same thread to sew the eye on the other side. Just makes it just a bit easier, really. Okay, then I'm going to sew through there, pull that tight, cut it off. So we're going to sew the nose now onto Bluebell, and you are going to make a choice now about which needle and the thickness of thread you use. So you're going to use embroidery thread, which is a thicker thread. But if you just have standard needles, what you probably will need to do is separate the embroidery thread so that there's only 3 strands in instead of the 6. So this is the embroidery thread with 6 strands, and this is it pulled in half to have 3 strands. And that is because, the reason you would do that is because it's quite thick and it's quite difficult to get into a standard needle. Now I've got a bigger needle there, so I'm using the bigger needle with the full embroidery thread. But if you want to split it, what you need to do is get the embroidery thread, and then what you'll see is if you gently prise it apart, you'll see that it's made up of 6 separate strands. Okay, and they're just sort of woven together, twisted together. So what you want to do is you just want to pull the 3 apart and separate them, and then use 3 of them. Okay, that had a knot in the end, so you will just use that. So it just will mean that you'll have to do some more stitches to make the nose look a little bit thicker. Right, so to sew the nose, this is the shape. So this is on the instructions. This is the shape that we want to make. Okay. So we're going to aim to have the longest part here, and then it's going to get shorter. So first of all, we're going to bring the needle here to the bottom point. Okay. And we're going to leave a bit dangling, and that'll be cut off at the end. So go to the top, so that's the top and the bottom point, and then all of the stitches are going to be across there. So we go to the top point and then we come out just slightly further up from the last one. There you go. And we keep going so that this is always going to be at the same height up here, but this down here will get progressively shorter. And then when these stitches sit, they'll sit nice. You want them to sit nice and flat. Okay, so that is very cute. Just going to do one more, I think. And then what I want to do is when I've finished, I'm going to come out right at this bottom point again. So when I think my nose, I'm happy with my nose. So I'm going to come out there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm then going to sew the mouth shape. So the mouth shape, I'm going to come down and then do 2 smiles. I'm now going to come down to make the mouth, so single stitch, and then this is going to be a smile. So I'm going to come down to create that stitch there, and then this where I'm going up is going to be the smile. So I'm going to go back into the middle and out the same place on the other side. Okay, now I'm happy that that is going to look okay, but what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go back into this nose. Oh yeah, that's sweet. I'm going to come back into this nose look, and I'm just going to do another couple of stitches to secure this thread. And then I'm going to go out there. Okay, and then pull this tight. So if you pull that tight, that means that when you cut it off, it shrinks underneath. There we go. So that then disappears. Oh, how cute. Okay, so Bluebell is finished. I think she looks adorable. She's got movable arms and legs. And she just looks so cute. Now, if you've been following the pattern, so the pattern and the kit is available on my website, sewnlife.com, but she also has clothes that you can make to fit her as well. So here's another Bluebell Rabbit that I've made previously, and she's got a tunic and shorts on. Very cute. So here we've got Theodore Bear. Put him down there. Theodore Bear's got his coat. Then we have Beatrice Fawn in her lovely dress. We have Florence Piglet, and she's there in her dungarees. So all of these outfits fit all of these different characters. They've all got their own little character. They've all got their own little story about them. So if you buy the pattern or the kit, you also get the story about them in there as well, which is written by Grace, my daughter. And yeah, they're a gorgeous little group of characters. Sorry, I almost forgot one of my characters. Dear me. This is James Fox. He is one of the set as well. So I really hoped that you enjoyed making Bluebell Rabbit, and that it was lots of fun, and that she looks adorable, and that you really like her. Hopefully you're going to add some clothes and some other characters as well, so that would be lovely. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to see you in one of my next videos, so I will see you there. Bye.